Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. This is T. Blake Brady. I am an author and educator, and today I'm going to be talking about Stephen King's newest book, Holly. It follows Holly Gibney as she tries to solve a missing persons case set in the Midwest. We also have an interesting set of octogenarian serial killers. So, even though I haven't finished the book, I am really intrigued by what Stephen King has done so far and where he's going to take the book. Beyond the plot, which I find to be a pretty standard pulp fiction story, it seems like something that Raymond Chandler could have written. The Big Sleep, for example. It's about a young woman named Bonnie Doll who goes missing, and her mother, Penny Doll, is looking for her and frantically tries to get in touch with the Finders Keepers detective agency, which is who Holly works for. Her partner, Pete Huntley, has been knocked out of the case because of COVID. Which brings me to the next point. Something I'm really interested in about this book is it is not a post COVID, but an in the middle of intermediate COVID story. We are smack dab in the middle of 2021. And as much as I think a lot of people would hate to go back to that time, it's kind of interesting to see a story take place in the middle of COVID, which that entire time period feels like a complete fever dream to me now. And to have Stephen King's commentary on it, I'm really looking forward to see what insight he has into everything. I think a lot of authors are either taking the tact of ignoring COVID altogether or setting their stories after COVID, maybe pretending COVID never happened at all so that they can get on with the business of telling stories because it was such a traumatic shared event among everybody in the entire world that it really sent shockwaves throughout all of media. And I think that kind of dealing with it head on is a really interesting way for Stephen King to handle the whole COVID fiasco. I understand that a lot of readers probably will reject the book based on that. COVID is really controversial among, I'm sorry, but among the right. And so people who maybe voted for Donald Trump will not enjoy this book. People who think that COVID is a hoax will not enjoy this book. And so I don't mind saying that it is firmly in kind of a leftist tradition. I don't really consider Stephen King to be a super huge liberal, but this is definitely not going to please readers who see Stephen King now as an iconoclast who is constantly poking fun at the 45th president of the United States. So I don't think it really matters to Stephen King. Whatever book he puts out is going to probably hit number one on the bestseller list, but I do recognize that it's there and he's not accidentally doing this. This is not something that he stumbled into, and he's not going to be shocked by the response from some sections of society to his book. And I'm really interested to find out what his thoughts are on all of this. I mean, this is the guy who wrote The Stand. This is the man who wrote the preeminent book about an infection taking over the entire world. And so I think he probably has some interesting things to say. That said, I am in the camp that I think Stephen King is kind of doing, a greatest hits portion of his career. He does seem to really love the character of Holly Gibney. And I think it's her guilelessness, but he is retreading a lot of the same material. This is a murder mystery. And if you follow him on Twitter, it's pretty obvious that he's a big fan of like Harry Bosch. And so it's not a mystery to me that he's writing these slightly macabre murder mystery novels. These are not, I don't think, grand visions of the world the way that his first books were. This is not going to be The Shining. This is not going to be It or The Stand. It's a nice book. It's a well written book. At this point, Stephen King could probably write Holly while asleep. But the fact that we're still getting a book or two a year from Stephen King is something that I relish. And I'm enjoying it so far. I have just reached the point where the exposition is done and we have hit kind of the problem. We have really hit the problem that will need to be solved. And I think I'm starting on the rising action. This part will be a little bit spoiler filled, but that's okay. It's not going to be major. I'm only like 5% into the book. So we have the octogenarian serial killers. They haven't really overlapped with the story at all, so I'm going to leave them kind of to the side for now. But we do have Holly, who is on the trail of a young woman named Bonnie Dahl, Dahl, which makes me think of Raw Doll. So I wonder if that is intentional or not. Anyway, so what's happened is that her mother is frantically looking for her. She has gone missing. There is video of her, and already there are some things, some notes that Stephen King has left in the story to tell us that not all is what it seems. And that's pretty much where I am. She hasn't quite begun the investigation yet, but she's about to. And though I think it's pretty standard and a pretty standard novel of Stephen King's, it is really well written and smooth and not as awkward as I found some of the prose in some of his later books. Even some of the stuff from the Bill Hodges trilogy just felt a little ugh, like the Tyrone character it didn't quite hit with me. And so I haven't seen anything like that so far. I really love the book. Was glad it's warm. It's like, having a meal cooked by Annie Wilkes, like I said in the last video. So I am really looking forward to moving on with the book and continuing to read and giving you updates. So I hope you will follow me on this journey. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video below, subscribe to the channel, and get more Stephen King stuff in the coming days and weeks. So thanks again for watching. I'm T. Blake Brady, signing off. See ya.